to hand this off to Jacob Knowles, Director of Sustainable Design at BR+A Consulting Engineers.
Rich, that was an awesome introduction and setting the context of why buildings matter, and we really do need to be moving to carbon neutral buildings. All right, so this is clearly happening. How do you do it in a cost-effective way, right? You don't want to break the bank, and you still want to be able to achieve these goals. So similar to that, three-step process, right? There's this hierarchy of the way that you get to a cost-effective solution for net zero ready buildings. So number one is you got to address the envelope and other loads to get those loads down, and that includes efficient heat recovery systems on the HVAC side. And that's what then unlocks the potential to go all electric. If you've got a big high peak, high load energy hog building, you're going to have a tough time making it to all electric, and certainly not cost effectively. So triple glazing is becoming much more common. Paying attention to the details on the envelope, looking at fully thermally broken systems rather than a lot of our old buildings where there's a lot of thermal bridging, right? A lot of metal framing going straight through the insulation. So we're avoiding that now in new construction, so you actually get the performance out of your insulation that you paid for. And then at the system level, we're moving heat and cooling around with water rather than air. So moving away from all air-based systems, we're using fan coil units, chilled beams, radiant systems, and so forth. And then this is the 500-pound gorilla in terms of driving loads in buildings, particularly high energy buildings like labs and healthcare, is that makeup air, that ventilation air you have to preheat, pre-cool. And so really efficient heat recovery is critical to moving towards all electric buildings. Now we keep talking about electric buildings, right? And I think a lot of people think, oh God, really? We're going to go back to the 80s and before that when we had electric resistance to heat our buildings? Isn't that so inefficient and expensive? Absolutely. Electric resistance is not a good solution because you get 1 unit of electric in, it creates 1 unit of heat out, just like a toaster. What we're really talking about now is heat pumps. So with a heat pump, you're in the range of a 3 COP ideally, where you put 1 unit of electric in and you get 3 units of heat out. It sounds like magic, right? Well, it's not actually generating heat. It's called a heat pump for a reason. It's literally moving heat, pumping heat from one place to another. So that's how you can get that more than 100% efficiency. It's pulling heat from the ground if it's ground source, it's pulling heat from the air if it's air source, and it's just moving that heat into the building. So there's 3 flavors of strategies to electrify buildings. There's ground source on the left, there's air source in the middle. It's literally pulling heat out of the ambient air outside. And then the right-hand option is exhaust source. It's kind of a heat recovery strategy, but you're getting a similar benefit. You're just extracting BTUs out of an air source, and it happens to be warmer air because it's leaving the building. So exhaust source is a new flavor of heat pump strategies that we're using. Now, we all recognize that fossil fuels may not be completely eliminated quite yet, particularly for high intensity buildings like labs and healthcare. For example, healthcare, you have to have 2 fuel sources. You cannot have a 100% electric hospital today with no backup systems. And labs, similarly, the peak loads are so high, it gets very difficult to handle that absolute peak design condition. So standby generators, backup, and peaking boilers for these types of buildings are going to be around for a little while. So in summary, this is, it's really happening at a large scale. It's happening even on these challenging, complex buildings, from small to large, from 4,000 or 9,000 square feet up to millions of square foot at campus scales. We're on the path to carbon neutral for these buildings, and the key is really just to keep it as cost effective as possible, keep it under ideally that 1% construction cost premium threshold, and make sure it's a good net present savings for everybody involved.